Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Earhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today we have Dr. Steven, and I can't wait for him to tell you about all of his experiences and tell you all about how he helps so many people. So, Stephen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course, I'm happy to. And first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Nick. And my real focus, if we really looked at all the work that I've done, it's really to help people make changes in their lives and in their experience and how they see themselves. And I think this is the biggest challenge that we all face. We the lessons of childhood get so branded in us that they're hard to shift away from. And I focused on the potential of neuroplasticity. That's the brain's ability to literally rewire itself.
Yep.
And so one of the focuses has been on shifting from people having struggles with chronic stress into a place of greater and greater resilience. And then the other area is simply, again, how we see ourselves in more positive ways. And it begins with creating a positive mindset around yourself and around your life. So those are the areas of my focus and work with people and organizations as well.
Awesome. And yeah, like for me, I know on my journey, it all started with my mindset. My mindset before I got on my, self-improvement journey, it was very negative. And I looked at the world in a very negative way. I've seen a lot of negative things happening every day. And once I started to make that shift to look at the positive in every situation, it's kind of like the whole world changed. It really is. It's like I stopped looking at all the negative and started focusing on the positive.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. And is that what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is that pretty much what you're talking about when you work with your clients?
Well, I want to help people feel okay within their skin. Much of the time, people feel like there's something wrong with them. They're not okay. They're not enough.
Yep.
And this is true for so many of us in our lives. Wherever we're at, we feel like we should be better. We should do more. We deal with a situation and say to ourselves, I should have done better. Shouldn't have made that mistake. And so it's very important as a key lesson in life to start and come from a place of self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And I like to give the analogy of all of us being on this journey through life. And at any time in our lives, we're somewhere along this path, somewhere along our own personal journey. Let's say we're here. If every time you're somewhere on this path, you say to yourself, I should be further along, which is what we do when we say, I shouldn't have made that mistake. I should have done better. We're always saying, even though I'm here, I should be over here. When we do that, we are undermining ourselves. Because if I should be here and I'm here, we're basically giving ourselves a message that there's something wrong with me, that I'm here and not here. So when you start from a place of acceptance, and acceptance doesn't have to mean I like where I'm at or I'm going to stay where I'm at. It simply is a way of saying I'm okay, because when I say that, it gives me more energy and more fuel to move down this path. And
Yep,
so
and it
if I'm
does.
here and I want to get here, the fastest way to get here is to begin by accepting where I'm at now and appreciating all the work it took me to get to where I'm at now.
Yeah, enjoy the journey from where you're at now. Don't try to live, in the future, and I've done that myself where it's like I am not as far along in my business as I thought I would be. But hey, I'm where I'm at now for a reason. I just gotta keep on going, keep improving, keep learning, and I will get where I want to be.
Yes, excellent. Great, great.
hmm
Yep,
Yeah, and I do understand. Like a lot of us, we tend to beat ourselves up a lot, and we're all afraid of failing. This is how I like to look at failure. Number one, you can't fail if you don't give up. And the second thing is, every time something doesn't go the way that I wanted it to, I take a step back and I go, okay, what can I change the next time? Because I'm going to try this again. I'm not going to give up. So, what can I do next time so that I can be better the next time around?
that's great. That's great. In my model of resilience, I begin I have 9 pillars as the title of my book, The 9 Pillars of Resilience, The Proven Path to Master Stress, Slow Aging, and Increase Vitality. And it begins with the first of the 9 pillars is our relationship with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And as you just noted, we can be very hard on ourselves. We make a
Oh,
mistake and we could be very hard on ourselves for it. And I encourage people to develop a healthy internal voice or internal parent that
mm-hmm.
comes from a place of love, compassion, acceptance, support, care, and joy. Those are like the hallmarks of a healthy relationship. So, one of the things I tell people is if you're feeling upset, I guarantee you can trace it back to some negative message or some judgment that you're giving to yourself.
Yeah.
If you're anxious going into a meeting, it's usually because some message is coming in that says people are going to judge you, or you're going to make,
Mm-hmm.
you may make a mistake, a negative message. And when I when people notice discomfort, I have them trace it back to this what they're saying to themselves, and then I say, come over here on this other side where you have this healthy internal voice that you're developing, you're working on, and come
Mm-hmm.
from that positive place and speak to yourself from there, and you will shift your energy and you will shift your confidence going into that meeting somebody,
Yeah.
or whatever it is you're about to do.
hmm I love that you talk about that because one of my mentors, he's talked about it in this way. You can't control your first thought because that comes from your subconscious, but you can always control your second thought. So just like you were saying, become aware of your thoughts and then shift it from that negative side of you to that positive side. And the more you do this, the better you're going to get. And then, sooner or later, your first thought is just going to be a positive thought from the get go.
Yeah, you make a very good point there, because the first thought is automatic. The first
Mm-hmm.
action or the first reaction is
Yep.
automatic based on old habit patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens with a lot of us is that first reaction occurs and we get frozen to it. We feel like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is who I am. I can't do anything about it. Instead of, no, this is has been trained into me and
Yep.
it's going to be automatic. But now that I'm present in this moment, I could look at this and I could say, no, I don't want to continue doing it this way. And
Mhm.
here's where we have the opportunity to bring in a new thought, as you just mentioned, a new, healthier approach coming from a healthier internal voice,
Yeah.
and begin training the new, healthier behavior, the new, healthier thinking.
Mhm. Yep. I I love that, and I agree with you so much. And since you brought it up, I would love to talk more ab- about your book.
Sure, sure, sure. You know, was did you have a question there, or
No.
okay, good. So people talk about resilience as the ability to bounce back. And
Mm,
that used to be okay, but it really is not the new way to do things, as I like to say, because I've redefined resilience as the ability to bounce forward. And the
I like that.
distinction I'm making here is when you bounce back into the same thinking patterns as when you started, as opposed to
Mhm.
using each experience to learn a new lesson so that when you bounce forward, when you handle the next stress, you're handling it from this more fully developed perspective. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of that. You know, I had a client that came to see me, and she always got very anxious before she took an exam. And she'd worry about it the night before. She'd lose sleep. She wouldn't get a good night's sleep. And then she'd take the exam, and then she'd worry about whether she did well or not. And I said to her, I said, Jane, uh, how did you do? And the kicker was she said, well, I always got A's. And that's a real head scratcher. You always got
Yeah.
A's, but yet you worried and got anxious. And it
Mhm.
occurred to me as I was in that session with this young woman, one of the lessons of one of my original mentors in neuroscience, Donald Hebb, who coined the phrase neurons that fire together wire together.
Prior together.
And so in reflecting with this woman, I realized that if you think about it, every time she was anxious and worried, every time she didn't get a good night's sleep before an exam, and every time she worried even after she took the exam, she got an A.
Mhm.
Her brain put those things together.
Yeah.
So I refer to that as superstitious behavior because the worrying and the anxiety was not the cause of her success. She succeeded in spite of that. But because those two things came together temporally in time, she paired those unconsciously so that she continued to be anxious. Bouncing forward, resilience is bouncing forward, is for her to realize, which is the work she and I did.
Mhm.
I prepare well for my tests. I study well for my tests, and I always do well. I don't have to worry or be anxious anymore. And
Mhm.
through that, working through that process, she let go of her anxiety, and after that, got good night's sleeps before
Mhm.
her tests.
You know, that I like that story because yeah, it's like she at that point had to go through that worry and everything and then get a good grade. And what you worked on is, you know, you can get a good grade without all that worrying and not sleeping beforehand. We just gotta rewire your brain a little bit. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, what are the 9 topics in your book?
So the 9 pillars, and by the way, this is a model I developed after 30, 40 years of working in this field of looking at everything that
Okay.
impacts our sense of self and our resilience and really our longevity as well. So the first three have to do with relationship. I've already mentioned the first, relationship with yourself.
Yourself.
The second is relationship with others. And
Mhm.
that's being able to discriminate between healthy relationships where you're in relationship with people who are supportive versus toxic or negative relationships where people might be critical, judgmental of you, in competition with you. And it's
Mhm.
also being able to set a boundary so the toxicity and negativity of others doesn't reach you, that you can say, no, I don't
Mhm.
have to take that in. The third is relationship with something greater. This can be spirituality. It can be
Mhm.
having meaning and purpose in your life. Very important for
Oh
resilience.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
giving service, something that connects you to the larger community.
Yeah.
The next three have to do with organismic balance and mastery. So the fourth is physical balance and mastery, what's usually referred to when people think about stress management. Do
Mhm.
I allow myself, do I give myself the opportunity physically to recover after the stresses I encounter? Or do I just jump from one stress to another, stretching the resources of my body, which is what most of us do?
Mhm.
Because if you think about your typical day, there are many stimuli in your day that trigger danger, threat, whether
Yeah.
it's an encounter with a boss, whether it's a conflict in a relationship, whether it's paying your bills on time, or all the myriads of things that we're all concerned about in our society today.
Mhm.
But how many triggers, stimuli do we have in our day that tell us you're safe, you can relax?
Not many.
No. So we
No.
have to bring that into our life. We have to bring that into our day and practice some form of relaxation, meditation, biofeedback that
Mhm.
trains the body into lower states of activation to counter all the stresses activating our bodies. The fifth is mental balance and mastery. And this is having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. So
Mhm.
if you notice a shortcoming in yourself, you don't go, "Oh, look at me," and feel stuck with that. You go, "Okay, how do I develop this ability further so I no longer have this shortcoming?" Okay.
Mhm.
Um, Mindset is also having a positive mindset. Do I wake up in the morning and I look for what can go right? Or do I wake up in the morning and look for what can go wrong, what what might be a difficulty? So
Mhm.
it's where you direct your cognitive focus.
Yeah.
The sixth pillar is emotional balance and mastery. And this is being tuned in to your body and tuned into your feelings and recognizing that any feelings that come up, you have to go through a process to express them so that you can release them.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we carry excess emotional baggage that then
Yep. We do.
interferes with cognitive functioning.
Mhm.
It also interferes with getting our needs met.
Mhm.
The last three have to do with how we engage in the world. So, pillar number 7 is presence. When how much of the time am I here in this moment or up in my head worrying about something in the future or regretting
Mhm.
something from the past? The more I
Yep.
could be in the present, the more successful I'm going to be and the happier I'm going to be because
Mhm.
it's only in this moment that real life takes place.
Yep.
The eighth pillar is flexibility. And this is the ability to make adjustments in your life to get your needs met. If I'm if I'm trying to achieve something, if I'm trying to reach a goal, and then there are obstacles placed in my way, do I have flexibility to change my path to get to that goal, or to change my goal to make it more available to me?
Mhm.
Flexibility is also about being able to shift perspective. Can I put myself in somebody else's shoes? Can I see a problem from many different perspectives, so I have a greater opportunity for problem solving. And
Mm-hmm.
then the last ninth pillar I define is power, which I define as the ability to get things done.
Ooh.
And this is having more courage to overcome fear, being
Mm-hmm.
persistent, consistent, having a focus, setting goals. All of this goes into my ninth pillar. And in my book, I lay out a program that people can kind of use this as a handbook for their best life. And every morning, looking at a few pages and picking one activity, one action, one goal, and working on it that day and using it as a day by day, what I refer to as being on the.
That's incredible. It sounds like your book is extremely helpful. So I know that for me, right when we get done today, I will be ordering your book because I am very interested, and it's everything you talked about. I'm trying to work on myself right now. You know, it's a constant improvement. You know, I I I I think it's funny because like some people think that self improvement is like there's a destination you gotta get to. It's not like that. It's continuous growth every single day your whole life. So every morning I wake up with the intention to be at least 1% better than I was yesterday.
That's great. And I totally agree with you because sometimes people get stuck. They see that I'm here and I want to get
Mhm.
over here. And it feels like this huge chasm to get from where they are to where they want to get to.
Yeah.
And when you translate that into a continuous path where, as you say, each day, each there's a step you can take in that
Yep.
direction, it really makes the process feel much more doable,
Hmm.
and it allows us to feel good about ourselves because we could see that process. In my book, I refer to it as being on the path. And for me,
Mm.
being on the path is defined by my nine pillars that I just described to you, so that rather than seeing the goal all the ways down there at the end of the road, the path is alongside of you every moment of every day. And all you
Hmm.
have to do is open my book almost anywhere in my book and take a couple of the steps that I talk about, and that puts you onto the path. And
I
that's
like that.
success.
Yeah.
Today I'm successful because I did some steps that put me on the path, because I know that this path is taking me in the right direction.
This episode of the Infinite Abilities podcast is brought to you by the one and only Infinite Toolbox, where just like all other toolboxes, we will get the job done, guaranteed. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to save time, boost revenue, or automate your processes, Infinite Toolbox has got you covered. With powerful tools designed to drive leads, expand your reach, and gain your industry secrets, we help you work smarter, not harder. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Visit us at infinitetoolbox.com. That's infinitetoolbox.com, and discover how infinite your potential really is. I like that. And another thing is, like, at the end of your day, you can look back at that, one or two steps that you did, that you took from your book, and now you have a win, because celebrating wins is extremely important for your success, your mental health, everything. So yeah, I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. I will add to what you just said, because
Hmm.
one of the keys to transformation is that when we have a success, we fully take it in.
Yep.
When we get a compliment from somebody, we fully take it in, because it's not only doing things that makes the difference.
Hmm.
It's doing them and then acknowledging it to ourselves. That's
Yeah.
what fully puts that next brick on the edifice of the building of our life, is doing the
Hmm.
work and then acknowledging to ourselves that we did it. That
Yeah.
really cements that brick in place.
And that's something that I did not do for the longest time.
Mhm.
Up until recently. I would just work, do a whole lot, but not like realize how far I have come. And not realize like all the accomplishments that I made that day or that week or that month. And now that I start to celebrate like everything that I'm doing, I'm just happier. I have more motivation. I'm just like, all right, let's go. So yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
And then, how can people reach out to you?
So my website is drstephensideroff.com. That's
Okay.
drstephensideroff.com. And on my website, I have a lot of my talks, a lot of my published work, published research. I just published a research study. My colleagues and I went into detention camps and elementary schools, and we did a process of drumming to improve reading fluency and comprehension. The article is called The Use of Rhythm and Drumming to Improve Reading Fluency and Comprehension, plus other
Hmm.
research and papers that I've written. But my book is available in bookstores. It's available online at Barnes and Noble and at Amazon.com. So people can get my book and start on their own journey, on their path to becoming more resilient.
I love that. Amazing. And then, m- my slogan is "Your abilities are infinite." What does that mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is very simply, people, you don't give up.
Hmm.
You keep going. There's no ceiling. There's no automatic ceiling. The only ceiling is the one that you place on yourself.
Yeah.
And so you want to just take one step at a time and see how far you can get.
Yeah. I agree. I love that there is no ceiling. You can just keep going.
Right.
And then, do you have any last words of wisdom that you would like to leave us?
Yeah, I think it's so important how you start your day. And I
Hmm.
encourage everybody to start their day with an intention and with three or four um, statements that they make to themselves about what they want to achieve, but you write the statement as if you've already achieved it. And by doing that, your brain is hearing that you've already done it. It doesn't know
Yeah.
the difference. So you're rewiring your brain every time you give yourself one of those messages. And I encourage
Hmm.
people to write down three or four and read them 5 times during the day, when you wake up, at each of your three meals, and before you go to bed.
I think that is a great idea. I know that I've got a couple of my statements that I taped around the house. So like when I'm walking around, I can reread them. So yeah, I know firsthand how much that helps and how important that is. And I do agree that everybody should have something that they do every morning. I have a whole morning routine that I do, and if I don't do it, I'm not right the whole entire day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's
So,
great. That's great. Yeah. So you start your day off right.
yep. All right, Stephen, this has been incredible. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, Nick, and thank you for having me on.
Of course. If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in the Nick to your heart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors. So let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone. Remember, your abilities are infinite.